Hello and welcome to our ICC Bootcamp for June 12th, 2014. We're getting ourselves set up and ready to go. Hopefully we'll have a more productive webinar today than we did on Tuesday. And it's a vertical learning curve. Very frustrating, unfortunately. Oh, that's why. Okay. There we go, getting everything organized. And I think it's going to start right at the top of the hour because I don't see anybody showing up in terms of attendees. So I guess in 6 minutes, it'll just pop on and away we go. Now all I have to do is learn how to edit these and that I'll try and do over the weekend. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. And I think one of the things that we all need to be doing is constantly grooming ourselves and getting ourselves set up in the right direction. We are getting really hot. Today, I think it's around 35 Celsius, 90s Fahrenheit, I guess. It's been so long. I was born and raised in Canada. We did the metric thing. I was in high school when that switchover came. Never bothered to learn metric in any great degree, even though we studied. And I just hope we don't have problems with this new ISP connectivity issues. Well, we're 4 minutes away from getting started. I think knowing what I know now, we'll just start at 2 minutes too, so we don't have to see the talking head. Oh boy. Getting settled in, getting organized, trying to do regular work, trying to deal with all the issues of things not working, things are broken, parts are missing. Just amazing how much time you waste. A whole morning this morning trying to get a lamp fixed, that not a lamp, a light fixture fixed, that there was a part missing. And picking up some things that we left behind at the apartment because I didn't bother to check all the drawers and cupboards. Yeah, life is what happens between all the plans we make. And we're at the 2 minute mark, so everybody should jump on board in about 2 minutes. I don't know why it's not allowing people to come in early. Mm-hmm. And we're down to the 1 minute mark. $60 more seconds of talking head. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Several more joining. Welcome to our Icc Bootcamp for June 12th, 2014. Talking head Gary here. Watching the helicopters go by. A lot of helicopters in this town. Anyway, well, let's get started. Hopefully we'll have better success than we did on Tuesday. What a disaster that was. I didn't even bother to publish it. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we can screen share. And I need some assistance here to let me know that you're going to be able to see the screen okay. And so if somebody would type in, yes, they can see the Putting You in Control Revision 1. Somebody give me the good news that you can actually see that, would you please? And then we'll get started. Anybody seeing Putting You in Control? Please let me know. Thank you so much. I need to know. Type, type, type. Somebody. Okay, good. Thanks, Kenny. All right, well, let's get started. I just had about 3/4 of an hour conversation with Ben before the webinar, and he gave me some really exciting updates and gave me some vision for today's webinar, which is a little different than where I was headed, so I had to make a change of plans. Putting You in Control, Revision 1, we're going to review one more time with feeling because it's about putting you in control. And everything is doing well behind the scenes. Again, I'm not at liberty to say where we're at because loose lips sink ships. But he did say that there's things that you can be doing as individuals to accelerate your ability to receive what it is you're looking to get. If you've got an MOU in place, if you've got any other protocol in place, there's things you can do, and we're going to discuss those today. So let's start off with protocols published in chipscorner.com. Facilitate the conversion of BVK for USD deposits for members of the Internet Catalog Club. Now, lots of us have BVK that we would love to exchange for USD, and so the offer is still open to go ahead and get yourself set up with a partner who has the ability to come up with the $5,000 for a fetus voucher, and you set up whatever kind of split you want to split and go ahead and get yourself into that MOU. Then find yourself a wealth management group, a bank that will move forward and do this latest modification of the protocol, and everything's going to come together quickly for you. Everything else is in place for what's existing, but you can always speed it up. Other protocols provide ways for members to obtain BVK or to otherwise accomplish personal or business objectives. But since all of the protocols rely on a series of events to take place, the only person that can answer how long will this take is each member that undertakes to use these protocols. This document is presented to help members understand and embrace the fact that they could be in full control of the events associated with accomplishing their objectives. Every door that needs to be opened, except one, has now been opened by some member, providing a pathway to a door that could rapidly lead to the success for every member. So everything's in place. The money's in place for the line of credit. All of those things are in place. We just need to have more processors of the documentary funds. All of the protocols culminate in documentary funds being issued in support of a member's objectives. The documentary funds can immediately be put under contract with IEC to be discounted so as to obtain USD funds on deposit in a selected institution. So what remains to be done? The answer is nothing if a member is willing to wait. And unfortunately, far too many of us seem to be willing to wait. Now, the problem is that no one can judge how long a member may have to wait. Well, obviously, if everybody's waiting and nobody's doing any work, then the number of financial institutions that we actually have doing the work is minimal compared to everybody going out and finding the institutions that can do the work. Then we obviously can move it much quicker. So again, one more kick at the can, requesting your active involvement in finding institutions to move forward with us. That is why exercising personal responsibility and taking control is very important. All the protocols require the payment protocol of the International Bill of Exchange, the IBO, guaranteed payable by the bank FIDUS, to be executed. The execution requires a credit facility, which FIDUS provides in the many billions of USD. So we're all set there. But it also requires execution of transactions within a framework using DTC or Euroclear and following FIDUS policies. Professionals have been contracted by FIDUS, but the results from their efforts will be used to satisfy International Bill of Exchange contract to be discounted on a first-in, first-satisfied basis. That means meeting objectives may take a long time if members choose to wait in line. But Be a Trader in the red block of chips-corner.com allows each member to personally affect the timing of results when using the protocols. By a member hiring or referring at no personal cost day traders, brokers, dealers, hedge fund operators, trading platforms, investment firms, wealth management groups, private banks, anyone that can access DTC or Euroclear to do the work, and or by the member personally doing the work, the member would be first in line. In today's world, with trading via the internet, every member can get involved or find someone willing to do so for their benefit. And they get handsomely paid, and so do you. After all, most persons and entities engaging in trading would be attracted to a multi-million-dollar USD fund deposited with a major world private bank, and by the opportunity to use that private bank's facilities to trade with those funds. Even large institutions should be open to the idea, since new rules prohibit them from trading with their own funds, and this large fund is readily available for them to use. Now, in my conversation with Eddie yesterday, he was saying that there's several large institutions that are banging on his door, saying, let's get this done, let's get this done. What's the holdup? Well, unfortunately, we're operating at the speed of government, and the government that's involved with the U.S. Treasury has given us the green light, as you're about to see, but they're slow to respond to the questions that we have in place for these large institutions to get the numbers of treasuries that they want. So we're ready to move, and we just think we can shortcut it a little bit, and that's why we're going to cover two new protocols that were just put up today. So to find out how to be first in line, you're here. Each member can be first in line, be in control, and provide a solid answer to the question, how long will it take? Because each member can be engaged in making it happen. So if we go to the trading section, the two new protocols that we're going to be reviewing today are the IEC Documentary Funds Protocol, along with Documentary Funds Discounting Corollary. Now, I really want you to focus on USD real estate as a vehicle to obtain funds advanced towards discounting of documentary funds by IEC. This is going very, very well. Ben was telling me of a huge deal that they've just put together in California. He went into the intricacies of it, and it was quite detailed. And he said, although it's not probably the average person that will be able to do this, there are professional brokers out there that can facilitate these kinds of transactions. And so I'll hopefully get my notes together, and we'll bring it to the table on Tuesday of exactly what kind of transaction this went down. But he said what they did is they vetted the transaction. It's all been put to contract, and closing is very soon. And the reason he did it is that there's two large decommissioned nuclear power plants in California that are literally just sitting there. And this goes for anything that's out there, folks. I was talking with Bruce this morning about two coal mines in Australia that have been told to clean up their act. So this really lends well, because what Ben said he's going to do is he's going to buy the properties, the decommissioned properties, and he'll probably get a super deal on it, because let's face it, who wants something with radioactive material on it? Now, obviously, there's going to be some major expenses in cleaning up the nuclear waste, as there could be some major expenses in cleaning up the toxins from the coal mines. So what needs to happen is that when we're approaching these organizations, they need to submit a proposal to us outlining exactly the mess that they're in and what it's going to cost to make them whole, get them out of the hole, sell the property, we'll buy it, or maintain opportunities that we can do. So I would suggest that we start looking at these various energy solutions that are problems, and approach them. Because remember, there isn't anything that we don't really hold the rights and the opportunities. His idea is these two decommissioned nuclear power plants were hooked right into the grid. And so if we clean up the mess, we put in hydrogen, we're already hooked into the grid. And we can be a major supplier of electricity for the state of California. Well, what about Fukushima? What about all? I've just read an article where they're cutting a deal with Russia for natural gas. They're going to put a pipeline in. The world is in such chaos and in such change. This is opportunity for you and I. Don't be afraid to go out and ask questions. Hey, you got a problem? We got a solution. Outline your problem in detail. Let me submit it to the masterful professionals and see if we can't solve your problem. You win, we win, everybody wins. Okay? So let's take a look at these two new protocols. We'll start off with the IEC Documentary Funds Discounting Corollary. I want to start there first, even though it's the second document. And so I think I've already got it open. This isn't it. This is it. Okay, there we go. Documentary Funds Discounting Corollary. Documentary funds discountable by the IEC may be exchanged many times as payment for business transactions that can produce profits without discounting or while waiting for completion of a contracted discounting process. Let me read that again. Documentary funds discountable by International Energy Corporation may be exchanged many times as payment for business transactions that can produce profits without discounting or while waiting for completion of a contracted discounting process. So all of us that are MOU holders, we have these documentary funds that can be used for payments. For example, a set of documentary funds issued with a stipulated USD value may be used at a negotiated value to make a payment. receive a product or service, and also receive a negotiated amount in change in some other form of currency, such as Federal Reserve notes or euros. The party accepting the documentary funds may similarly negotiate with them as well. This may be repeated many times, even with the documentary funds being returned to the original beneficiary in exchange for products or services. At any time, any holder could take advantage of discounting offered by IEC to exchange the documentary funds for other modes of currency so as to engage in business with parties that choose to not accept the documentary funds. Parenthetically, non-acceptance of documentary funds does not invalidate their use as currency, just as non-acceptance of a $100 USD Federal Reserve note does not invalidate its use as currency. In both instances, the non-acceptance could be resolved by an exchange prior to the purchase or to buying from a competing business that chooses to accept the currency tendered. It is arguable that Federal Reserve notes in USD and documentary funds in USD may lawfully be used to satisfy debts contracted wherein a different mode of payment is not specified. In some debt contracts that specify payment with certified USD funds or payment with certified lawful USA funds, documentary funds as certified funds guaranteed by FIDES would lawfully and literally satisfy the contract, whereas payment with Federal Reserve notes may not. Remember, a Federal Reserve note is a promise to pay. It is not a US dollar. For example, it would not be a good idea to try and make payment in today's complex circumstances with several suitcases full of Federal Reserve notes, as the origin of funds may be questionable. So you walk into the local bank, you say, I've got 2 suitcases full of $100 bills, approximately a couple of $1 million, and I want to make a deposit. What do you think is going to happen to you? They're going to confiscate the 2 suitcases. They're going to investigate you and everything you've done for the past 5 years, and you may or may not get your money back. Yet it's yours. How did you get this? Well, I saved for it. Well, show me how you saved for it. All these questions are going to be asked of you as they grill you under that bright spotlight. On the other hand, FIDES guaranteed funds, the same as a bank transfer, can readily show the origin and transfer history of the documentary funds as payment instruments. So we have a superior product here in being able to make payment, documentary funds. Now, whether you send them in for discounting, which we're all presently doing, those of us that have MOUs, or whether you've deposited them with the folks at IBOM, or whether you still hold some. If you still hold some, then you might want to contact me and we'll find a way to best use them. All right, so just understand that we have powerful tools here. Let's go and see this latest letter from the International Energy Corporation that you can take to your bank, to your broker, to whoever. Discounting documentary funds guaranteed payable by FIDES. International Energy Corporation, IEC, may contract to discount documentary funds guaranteed payable by FIDES. FIDES backs its payment guarantee with an asset base that includes many billions of USD held on deposit, with HSBC Private Banking reporting to that institution's London office. Now, we've had some challenges with HSBC Mexico not complying, so that's all been taken away, and all of the funds are now blocked and set and controlled by HSBC Private Banking London. So all of these little roadblocks that we've been facing have been cleaned up, and we're ready to rock. IEC engaged the services of several affiliates, which have the requisite legal and financial relationships to assure the legitimacy of the financial backing provided by and through FIDES based on deposits with HSBC Private Banking. as well as verification of the lawful use as currency of the documentary funds guaranteed payable by Fetus. This is powerful stuff. Through these affiliates and their relationships, the financial backing preferred by Fetus has been reviewed at the highest levels in the USA and in the United Kingdom, and the lawful use as currency of the documentary funds that we have has been reviewed at the highest levels in the USA, and that's with U.S. Treasury. And they are accepting our documentary funds for payment of these U.S. Treasuries. Although no official report should be expected related to these reviews, the presentation and review of documents has provided confirmation that the party providing the financial backing is recognized as the sole party authorized to provide instructions for their use. Additionally, a review of documentary funds by authorities yielded a verbal response that they've been held up to the light and look good. The feedback information thus obtained is considered by IEC to provide sufficient and ample support for IEC to confidently engage in the discounting of documentary funds guaranteed by Fetus. IEC expects to use the buying and monetization of U.S. Treasuries to initiate each discounting process. At the current time, negotiations have been engaged to create a flow of Treasuries to be purchased directly from U.S. Treasury through an account with a major U.S. brokerage firm and or through other means. From that flow, IEC could arrange for any institution to receive any available quantity and value of treasuries as may be negotiated. To begin a relationship with IEC for the execution of business with treasuries, IEC suggests that a contract for acquisition and resale of U.S. treasuries that IEC already has in place with sources of instruments and end buyers already contracted be put into operation with institutions that wish to participate. For this purpose, IEC can arrange for documentary funds structured the same as those already submitted to U.S. Treasury as payment instruments to be provided to an accepting institution for an initial value of $30 million. Now, we were talking $100 million, and we've eliminated a lot of small banks that couldn't handle that. So we've gone down to 30 million so we can find these smaller institutions ready, willing, and able to move forward at the $30 million level in first and second world nations. An accepting institution would be expected to hold these funds on deposit without exchange thereof to another form of currency and provide a certificate of deposit for their value. The certificate of deposit would be lodged with an investment services facility selected by the institution and approved by IEC. So it could be their own wealth management group. They may be in a situation where they don't have a investment services facility, but they do have a corresponding bank that does. The investment services facility would be expected to provide a margin of credit facility of at least 50%. That's just $15 million based on the certificate of deposit for electronic trading. So we give them documentary funds for $30 million. We ask them for just 50% of that. That's $15 million based on a certificate of deposit. And we go ahead and start electronic trading. The electronic trading would be governed by a limited power of attorney provided by the investment services facility. The electronic trading would be limited to non-depletion with no diminishment of value, trading of treasury instruments with no ability to transfer funds out of the account under the limited power of attorney. So the money stays there. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just a profit-making vehicle. After the proposed initial process has successively been implemented to the satisfaction of the institution and of IEC, the value for trading may be increased with the introduction of greater valued documentary funds. So we're letting them get their feet wet. We've got professionals that do all the work. So now 30 million in, 15 million CD. Let's start working with just the 15 million because we can pop that over and over and over and over. However, for discounting of large values of documentary funds, the profits available through the Treasury transactions will normally not be sufficient for a speedy resolution. Thus, IEC will expect to use profits from non-risk trading with Treasuries to engage in higher return transactions based on other bond and note trading that IEC might approve. Plus, for situations requiring longer-term funding, such as repayments of interim financing, IEC expects to use profits from all types of bond and note trading to invest in real estate and energy projects. So there's our focus: energy and real estate, which can provide continuing income that IEC may use to satisfy documentary funds discounting requirements. Key to use of the IEC protocols for discounting of documentary funds is cooperation in the identification and execution of profitable business with institutions, real estate projects, and energy projects. U.S. Treasuries, used as an instrument to trade, provide a solid foundational process for execution of discounting of documentary funds by IEC. Other bonds and notes, used as instruments to trade, provide a means to accelerate the execution of discounting of documentary funds by IEC. Now, real estate and energy project income, which can be used to repay the interim financing, provide opportunities to obtain full funding through lenders for purposes proposed as uses of funds that are expected to be obtained through discounting of documentary funds by IEC. Cash and other assets that may be used by FETUS to guarantee payment of documentary funds assure success for discounting of these by IEC. All of the above, by assuring exchangeability of documentary funds for other modes of currency, provide legitimacy for direct use of documentary funds as currency, as embodied in the United Nations resolutions, in the United States of America Uniform Commercial Code, and in English law, as well as other jurisdictional rules, regulations, and laws. Thus, in the view of IEC, these instruments, which have a very long and even ancient history of continued use, represent a very solid means to engage in commercial and financial business. This view is further bolstered by the fact that in addition to large and very significant USD cash deposits, FETUS's ability to guarantee is backed by even larger verifiable gold assets. In short, documentary funds guaranteed by FETUS with IEC acceptance to discount based on income related to treasuries, other bonds and notes, real estate and energy income, are structured to function within the real bill gold-backed system with clearing as proposed by Dr. Antel E. Fakete in his Monetary Reform Gold and Bills of Exchange address delivered before the Civil Society Institute at Santa Clara University on November 3rd, 2008. Now, we've read this previously, but certainly you have the ability to go and find this document. And there's two ways you could find it. It's on chips-corner.com, and it also happens to be in the Legacy Assurance site, and I believe we'll find it under... Gee, it's been that long? Okay. Articles, third-party information, and if we scroll down, again, if you haven't read this for a while, must-read article, November 7th, 2008. There it is. And so what are we talking about? Let's take a look. I guess I went too far. Okay. The way out In discussing the necessary monetary reform to be introduced after the dust settled, the rehabilitation of the gold standard and its clearing system, the bill market, must be a matter of first priority. The main cause of the disaster was the elimination of self-liquidating credit from the international monetary system, a process that started in 1909 with the introduction of legal tender banknotes. It took almost a full century for the process to run its devastating course before the financing system started unraveling in February 2007. That is the date, it will be recalled, when the cost of credit default swaps shot up first, the salvo making the beginning of the end. During that unfortunate century, the 20th, self-liquidating credit-based or on positive value gold was forcibly replaced by synthetic credit based on negative value or debt. Once the regime of irredeemable currency was placed, there was no way to rein in the fast breeder of debt in the system. We are forced to draw two conclusions. Number one, there is just no alternative to self-liquidating credit. That is to say, the production and distribution of consumer goods must be financed through bills of exchange. There is just no alternative to the gold standard. The regime of irredeemable currency is based on debt. Once adopted, the fast breeder of debt is engaged and will before long start spinning out of control, which we're already seeing. The world is going to heck in a handbasket. Now, solving the problem of the monetary system will also solve the problem of unemployment. Once real bills start circulating, the wage fund will be replenished at once, out of which wages can be paid to all those eager to earn them for work in providing consumers with goods and services in most urgent demand. If we want to exorcise, the world of its incubus of unemployment, with which it's been saddled by greedy governments in making their banknotes legal tender, not only must we return to the international gold standard, but we must also rehabilitate its clearing system, the bill market. In this way, the wage fund can also be resurrected. Then and only then can the so-called welfare state, paying workers for not working and farmers for not farming, be dismantled. So it's all here, folks. Awesome information. The Real Bills Act, I think, is defined earlier on in the overview of self-liquidating credit. There it is. Adam Smith's Real Bills Doctrine reigned in supreme in the monetary through the 19th century. So we're just reinstituting exactly what Piketty said needed to happen theoretically. We're physically, actively doing it right now. So it's with continued effort on your part and my part that we continue to bombard these financial institutions with this solution, including this now, along with the document that we've just finished reading, the corollary, along with the ability here to now include the document, Real Bills Backed by the Clearing Gold System, Piketty's Monetary Reform Gold and Bills of Exchange, and then submit this to the financial institution. And here's the unique thing. When we come over here to the trading platform, we come down here to using the real estate as a vehicle to obtain funds. Each and every one of us knows somebody that is replete with equity in their property, that it's paid for or almost paid for, or that they're in foreclosure. Either situation can provide cash flow for all those involved. Now, one of the corrections that I need to make from our Tuesday overview, and that's why I wasn't I was wanting to get that webinar up, but it's just too much of a mess and I don't know how to edit it. So I want to focus on number 8 and number 9 here. I was wrong previous to this in how I had reviewed it, and I did not read it correctly, so I want to correct that now. Originally, we talked about the sponsor. Now, most of you on this call are sponsors. That means that you have a one-member place or a place, yes, a one-member place, and we call it a sponsor place. We can call it a gold place. We can call it whatever we want, but we're going to use it for sponsoring. We have 50, 75, or 100 ICC memberships. Capital outlay to do that's 300 grand with 100 ICC memberships. You can use Zcash and chips, and you could also use BVK if you have it, but there'd be $400 needed for admin tickets. All right, so you can also use the documentary funds, the WAP and IBO, and many of you have done just that. And you purchased a Silver Mortgage Busting Team membership. It gave you the 100,000. You got a whopping for 100,000. You got 200,000 in the International Bill of Exchange, and we went ahead and we used the 300,000 because I was given permission to do this to get you the 200,000 that you needed for your place, sponsor place, and 100,000 for your ICC memberships. And so to do that today, it's going to cost you 5 grand as opposed to most of you got it when it was 1,000. But still, that's a super deal because it puts you into receiving 5.25% of the 75% of the 77% available in the discount store when we do these real estate transactions. Now, Eddie has been working with a real estate broker in Texas, and this real estate broker has 5 deals in process right now, one of which closes on Tuesday. It's our best efforts and hope that this particular transaction will provide for this particular member who does not have a place and does not have memberships to take control of his commissions earned for putting the deal together and use 5,000 of that to create a fetus voucher. If he'll do that, then Eddie and I will negotiate the ability for him to get his sponsor place and his ICC memberships, and he'll be able to pay us back through the MOU. So think about these things, folks. If you've got deals that you can put together and you're not a sponsor, you want to be one, because here's why. It's just not about the 5.25%. In this particular deal, we don't know exactly the amount that will be received on closing that will be deposited with fetus, but I'm just going to use that $100,000 amount because Eddie said it would be between the $80,000 and $120,000 range, depending upon how much the person needed to take out for personal use. So let's just say 100 grand goes on deposit with fetus. Well, 5.25% of that as a sponsor is $5,250. But here's where it really gets exciting. Number 9, and in this particular transaction, IEC was not called upon to provide funds for a down payment on behalf of the buyer. So the sponsor may also be advanced an amount equal to 37.5% of the value of the tickets USD IEC towards the discounting of documentary funds the sponsor has contracted to have IEC process. So what we're doing here in this transaction, and Eddie figured it all out, we'll go ahead and get a fetus voucher for this member, 5 grand. We'll give him the credit. We'll use our Zcash. We'll get him what he needs, a sponsor place, and 100 memberships. The person he did the transaction with is given a membership, and so they can come in and do the IEC protocols to pay off the property. We'll put in a couple of LMF computers, and so he'll be covered. And the sponsor is going to pick up the 5.25 plus the 37.5. So back in number 5 was talked about providing a down payment of 20% were not available. If you don't have to exercise number 5, then this money could be available to advance the interim financing of 37.5 of the fetus deposit. That's $37,500 plus the $5,250. That's $4,200, $42,000. So how many $100,000 equity lines can you find out there to put $42,000 in your pocket? And I know, just looking at the list of the people that are on here, every one of you could use 42 grand right now. And all it takes is one deal. And our very first deal will happen next week. All right? This is all real money. It's right now, because out of the 100,000, if you go back and read the 70% discount store, you know that 50% of that 100,000 is put to work in payouts to you and to me and to everybody else. That whole thing is out there. Go review the documents. So if a real estate agent is also the sponsor, in this particular case, the real estate agent is the sponsor, he's getting, I think, around $20,000 for the transaction as it goes down. So he gets the 20 there, he gets 37.5, and he gets the 5.25. Now, if he's not the sponsor and he wasn't prepared to do all this, then our attitude is real simple. We're taking the 37.5 and we'll give you some of the 5.25 because you're already the real estate broker and you're already getting your fees. So you see how we can negotiate and set up various amounts. So you can now get cash by helping others get cash, and real estate is one way to do it quickly. I'm telling you, there's so many hurting people out there. Go and look up foreclosed properties and just see how many of them are out there. Now, one of the challenges in talking with Ben today, he was saying that a lot of people should not even go near foreclosures with banks. He was given that advice. And when asking why he shouldn't want to do foreclosures with banks, he said because they really don't have any clear title of the property. And either the title company or the bank have screwed up in some way, shape, or form. And so second generation comes back, grandfather loses the property, grandson says, hey, I figured this out. You guys stole my property. Somebody's going to pay. Now, remember, most people would have that as a major risk. And so that's one of the things that he was cautioned in moving forward in doing real estate transactions in foreclosed properties when there may be some errors that would come unhinged down the road and cause the loss of the property. That's not a problem for us. All we're going to do is create documentary funds for that individual, say, here's the full value for your property, have a nice life, go buy another one. And we'll even show them how to do it. So you see how powerful we are? What great position that we're in? So how many people do you see out there? Just drive down a neighborhood when you see a sign, bank foreclosure, in foreclosure. Get on your grapevine, find out, remember the 6 degrees of separation. Who do you know that's either got equity in their property or that are losing their property? Let's help these people, and in helping those people, we help ourselves. You win as the sponsor. If you're not the sponsor, come cut a deal with me or with the person who sponsored you so that you can be cut in on the action. So we're looking for properties with more than 40%. Why? Because obviously IEC, if they do provide the down payment, wants their 20% back, plus they want to double their money. So find out. Now, don't turn down any deal, as many different arrangements may be negotiated. Now, as I decipher my notes on this big deal that Ben was talking about in California, it's I'm listing, I'm making notes, and I'm just saying, wow, I could never do a deal like that. And he said, well, the good news is you don't have to do a deal like that, but you can find professional brokers that are brokering these types of deals, and it's commonplace. So I'm going to get a template of that so that you can say, here's the type of deal we're looking for. Do you do these types of deals? Well, I do a variation of that because there really is no template availability because there is too much variable. Now, study the materials, go over it again and again and again. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting ready to blitz this thing next week. I've got the hard money lenders that I've looked up on the internet. I've got foreclosure properties I've looked up on the internet, and I've got real estate brokers and agents that specialize in those areas and going after them. Come join me. Let's do it together. So the time limit window will always be when it happens. Obviously, if this deal closes on Tuesday, which they say it will, everything pops into place. 100,000 goes on deposit, give or take 20, and this particular member picks up 37.5. Pretty darn exciting. On top of his 20,000 commission. How many real estate brokers would like to hear that story? How many of you know a real estate broker that would like to hear that story? You know, it's our job, it's our work, it's our opportunity. So in a conventional situation where you may have equity in your home or property, this protocol may take 30 to 45 days to negotiate. But don't worry about that, because we have hard money lenders at the ready. All right? So you don't have to go that route if you don't want to. I know we've got a couple of members that were on Week Go Thursday's call that were in that situation. I haven't followed up with them because I've been too busy getting organized for this week. But they're out there. These kinds of deals are all over the place. So that 37.5 does not go to the person who holds the property. It goes to you, the sponsor, if there is no 20% downstroke required by IEC to come up with. So let's open it up for some questions. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in, and let's make this thing buzz, because it gives us cash flow immediately. It gets a bank on board to do the transaction, and we start them off with that $30 million deal. So everybody wins. Very exciting information. I am going after it personally. I hope some of you will come and join me. Any questions, go ahead, type them in. And hi, Gary, you look extra well groomed today. Well, thank you so much. Let's just double check and see. Back over here and stop the screen sharing. There I am, and I'm laying back as usual. Yeah, I did comb my hair. I did put it on a shirt. So yeah, I guess maybe I'm looking extra well groomed. It's because I've been out all morning trying to get things done. So everybody likes everybody to look very business-like here, and I'm just amazed at the mentality of the business community here. If you're not wearing a shirt and tie, you're not considered. It's amazing. You know, my wife constantly is after me to dress nicely. I just want to wear shorts and a tank top. She won't allow that in this city. On the North Coast, she lets, and I love flowered shirts, and she won't let me wear my flowered shirts. But I wouldn't let her throw them out. Can I use your hard money lender? Well, bring the deal to us in a proposal format, and tell us what you want to do, and I'll run it by them. So absolutely, let's do that. Any other questions, go ahead and type them in. Otherwise, we're going to end this, and hopefully I'll be able to put it up later on this afternoon to watch it again. But review those documents, not once, not twice. You've got to go over them several times like I have, and you really start to feel comfortable with them, and that's where the power becomes backing you mentally. You feel confident. And if you got some deals ready to be put together, I'm here to help. Really am. All right. Well, nobody else has typed in anything. I want to thank you for being here with us. Let's look forward to seeing some funding this month. Eddie's very confident that there'll be deals done before the end of the month, and so that's exciting. But let's all work towards putting our own deals together where we're all making some serious paychecks. Everybody needs immediate liquidity through chips exchange for cash, and we can do that on every one of these real estate deals. Also be looking for the cleanup situations on large commercial properties like coal mines, gold mines, any kind of mine that's played out where there's tailings. Those are the things that are left behind that could be cleaned up and buy the property real cheap. All of those things are available to us. So be resourceful. Get out there and take some time. I know you've all got a living to make, but spend some spare time like I am, getting out there and finding these various properties that can be presented. So great success. Have a great weekend, and I'm available through Skype. Look forward to talking with you all soon. Bye for now.